So you might have moved into an apartment or a condo and you see you have one of these furnaces, but you want to put a Nest thermostat on it. But you got to take your thermostat off and then you're like, whoa, why are there so many cables? This is more than a normal home furnace or anything that shows on the Nest documents. And you see that there's this extra G2 and G3. That's because these systems are called coil systems, and they use a 3-speed fan basically. But don't worry, if you have a Nest that's newer than the first gen, and I'm not too sure about the Nesty, but second gen and third gen, they both work on this, you can make it control all 3 fan speeds. By doing that, what you would do is you would go into your Pro menu. I'll just show you right here how it's hooked up. So you would hook it up like this, depending on your colors and what it said before. So you'd obviously want to note what they were plugged into originally on the old thermostat. And then your fan number 1 would be G. Your fan number 2 would be Y2. See, it says fan G2. And your fan number 3 would be this asterisk. So you'd eventually have it hooked up like this. So you would copy what you had on your old thermostat, and then you'd make sure to put G, so this is in red in this case, goes to G. G2 is blue in this case, would go to Y2, and G3 was brown, it goes to this asterisk. Now, when you put your thermostat on, it's gonna be like your equipment has changed. Go set it up. And it'll give you an option for Pro setup. Now it looks kind of scary. It is supposed to be for having a professional install it, but it's actually pretty straightforward if it's specifically this situation in a coil furnace with 3 fan speeds. It's really easy. So you go to set it up, it says incorrect settings. You don't want to, fiddle with too many things, but specifically in this situation, it just gives you these options to change what each of these pins do. So in our case, we still have our G, which is set for fan, you can't change it. Then we have Y2, it's detected, and it gives you an option to choose what you want to change it to, vice versa. But it says here, G2 fan. So you want G2 fan, that's your second fan speed. And then, that's your cool electric force there. Obviously this isn't electric, this is a coil system, but it's an electric solenoid that opens up, so that's fine. You can't change it. It'll work perfectly for your cooling. Heat, you want to have set as gas and forced air and activate. It's not gas heating, it's actually kind of like a geothermal sort of heating, but it opens up into a solenoid also, and all it does is it sends a trigger to that solenoid to open up. So gas is fine because of the way that it activates the fan at the same time that it turns it on. So I have it set for gas, forced air, because obviously there's air being forced through here, and activate. So it turns on the fan when the heat is on. And then there's a 24-volt common, that's standard with every system. And then there's your asterisk. So that, when you select it, it gives you options, tons of different options, blah, blah, blah. You want G3 fan, because it's going to control your 3rd fan speed. And once that's all done, it shows up like this. So then you continue, you can test it, vice versa. And then the cool thing is once it's done, it gives you the option to, I already have my fan running, so I'll show you. It gives you the option to have 3 fan speeds. You could have high speed, medium speed, or low speed. And it retains the same sort of controls that you had before, but now it's connected. It's a Nest. It's a lot better than those Honeywell thermostats. It's a lot more simple to program. It's more efficient, although you're not really spending much money on these because the building pays for the heat and cooling in most cases. And now you have a Nest. So it's totally doable as long as you have these tiny cables and you don't have thick cables that look like a lamp cable with those twisty marrettes on it or anything like that. If you have multiple tiny cables like this, it's usually a 24-volt system and it can be done. And then you can have Nest control to one of these beauties. We have two, so we still have the Honeywell thermostat on the other one. We're maybe gonna get another Nest. But for right now, it's pretty good. And the Nests can talk to each other and keep the whole place at the same temperature. So you can have two of them and sync them up. It's weird having two furnaces, but that's kind of how some of these places are built. So hope that helps. It took me a long time to figure out what to do because there's not much information on it. But after talking to many people in Nest support and just doing research over time, I figured it out, and it's pretty straightforward and it works great.